Hello everyone, welcome back to Axangel RC. We have an interesting topic to cover today, the topic of Intelligent Propeller Control, or as HobbyWing calls it, IPC for short. What is it, you might ask? Well, essentially it is a whole sensor in the motor with the appropriate wiring coming out of it, which then goes in an IPC ESC, which is able to read the data from the whole sensor and determine the motor's exact position. This capability allows you to set a specific angle at which the ESC would position the motor and hold it there when the throttle is low, until it receives a valid high throttle signal to start spinning again. Generally, such sensored systems have been very popular in RC cars, crawlers and the like, where precise motor control is important, especially in crawlers. For flying things, which usually require the motor to operate at all times, it never spun slowly and never required precise control at low RPMs. It all changed when VTOL aircraft emerged and became popular. The issue is that VTOLs use the VTOL part of the system for takeoff and landing. During the rest of the time it just sits there, weighing down the plane and creating a lot of additional drag, which reduces flight efficiency a lot. As it turns out, the VTOL props stopping in some random position during forward flight reduces efficiency even more. A lot more. Hence, people have been working on various solutions on how to get props to stop in a desired orientation in order to create the least amount of drag during forward flight. The latest solution from HobbyWing is rather simple. It actually has been around for a very long time in gimbal motors, but in this case the censored bit is used only after the motor stops spinning to rotate and lock the propeller in a pre-programmed position, preferably aligned with the mounting booms on the VTOL, in which orientation the props create the least amount of drag. HobbyWing do have this technology also integrated into forward flight motors. The problem is it is available only for larger models, not due to technology limitations, but due to customer limitations. Larger planes are used for industrial work and constitute a much larger market than a couple of hobby flyers with small VTOLs, so demand dictates things in this situation. I hope at some point they will make the technology available on smaller models as well, as I wouldn't mind equipping my MFE Hero with motors like this. For the time being, I installed the system on my MFE Fighter, and even at its 12 kg all-up weight, they are still a bit more powerful than the Fighter needs, which will become obvious in just a bit, in addition to other issues the Fighter has. A solution to this could be smaller props. HobbyWing sent these over with the props made for them, the 16-inch ones. So first test was with those, though it did confirm my suspicion that the motors are a bit too powerful. I might try going to smaller props later on, but for now I will run with whatever these came with. After my previous flight with the Fighter, which left its nose in a very messed up situation, I hadn't touched it in over 2 years. Back then, the Fighter had a 12-motor VTOL setup, which actually worked well, though due to the voltage sag of the VTOL battery, the motors were struggling to keep the plane in the air. Even so, the idea behind the 12 motors was that if one fails, there are plenty more on each side to pick up the slack. This was actually confirmed when one motor failed during a test hover, and yet the plane did not fall out of the sky. However, after the forward flight transition and giving it full forward throttle, suddenly the tractor motor vacated the nose along with the front hatch, the mount and the prop, and I never recovered it, which also led to me having to print out a new front hatch for this rebuild. The plane landed alright, but I was bummed out, and like I said, I haven't touched it in a long time. Recently, HobbyWing reached out and provided the perfect opportunity for me to rebuild the Fighter and get it flying again, this time as a proper 4-motor VTOL. A close and dear friend of mine rebuilt the nose of the plane, reinforced it properly this time, which is something MFE should have done to begin with. HobbyWing sent a new tractor motor as well, in addition to the VTOL set and the data link box G3, which you need in order to program the IPC ESCs for which I am extremely grateful. The forward flight motor is the Platinum 4120SL 500 kV model, which works on 6S voltage and will be swinging a 16x12 APC prop for the time being. At 300 grams it is heavy, but also it does need to swing a huge prop as the fighter is a huge and heavy plane. The control of this motor has been relegated to a secure 200 amp Escape 32 ESC. That will be in its own video, but a quick hint, it is very good. By the time everything arrived, my friend had done the work on the nose. I printed out some mounts for the VTOL motors, removed the old motors in ESCs, installed the new ones, modified the wiring accordingly and plugged everything in. I did not cut down the carbon tubes to size because you never know what the future holds, and I would like to keep the flexibility a full-length tube provides. I didn't even have to change the wiring for the power modules in the plane. Only quirk of this setup is that now the VTOL battery is the main power for the flight controller and the servos, but at 12S and 4500 mAh there is plenty in there to keep this going for a long time before it becomes a problem for the landing. Much longer than the forward flight battery can last. I will swap the wiring over to the forward flight battery eventually, but I didn't want to mess with it right now. All of this installs just like any other normal motor and ESC set. You just have one additional cable between the ESC and the motor for the sensor, which should be connected. The only other difference is these ESCs also support drone CAN, which is what this extra wire is for, which you also use for the programming via the data link box. The wiring on the fighter would require some modification to get this working via CAN, so I didn't do it. Perhaps later on I might be motivated to test it out, so I have only the PWM signal wires connected to the existing wiring. The benefit of wiring them via CAN, after assigning them different IDs of course, is that you can combine all of the signal wires into one CAN port on the autopilot, which would free up at least 3 or 4 or 6 or more outputs at the back of the autopilot depending on your setup. But it will also provide ESC telemetry data to the autopilot, which can be viewed under the ESC1, ESC2, ESC3 and so on data points. You should be able to view RPM, current, voltage and temperature for each ESC, and all of this will be written into the autopilot logs, which should be very useful when troubleshooting any VTOL system issues. But for the time being, I will make do without this functionality. When you initially power the system, if there is a valid PWM signal, the ESCs will initiate. Apparently their PWM signal is fixed between 1100 and 1940 and apparently cannot be changed, so keep that in mind. It needs to be set in the autopilot and throttle calibrations do not work here. Initially everything will run, but the position hold will not work until you program the ESCs with the box. While they are powered on, connect each one to the CAN port on the box. You can either power it via an XT30 connector or via USB-C. Once the box is powered, you can connect to its Bluetooth from the app's interface. Keep in mind that as of the making of this video, even though there is a Windows program for this, it is very buggy and only caused me issues. I was able to get everything set up and working using the Android app. That worked without a hitch. Unless you need to change something major, and if your ESCs and motors work, you can skip this first page and go straight to the second one, scroll down and you will see the position interface. First thing that needs doing, which will also activate the position holding, is to calibrate the ESC to the sensor. Once you press the calibrate button, the ESC will spin the motor slowly in both directions to do the calibration. After that, you just dial in some degree value and click OK to set it. The ESC will rotate the motor to that angle, then keep adjusting the value until you get the prop in the orientation and position you need, and that's it. It's done. Repeat for all ESCs, then power cycle, and when they initialize and boot up, they will immediately rotate the motors to the programmed angle. When you throttle up, they would spin normally, and then when you throttle down, they would stop, and in a second or two, the motors will rotate to the pre-programmed positions. It is that simple and it works very well from the Android app. So with all of that done, it was time to get this hog up in the air and see what happens. It has flown before, so the motor order was good. I only needed to reverse the direction of 2 of the ESCs, which was also easily done earlier via the program box. I armed the plane, gave it some throttle, and at some point it jumped in the air. As expected, the motors were very powerful and it showed. To add to the issue, at least my version of the fighter is very soft. You can see how it flexes, and all of that paired with overpowered motors did not result in a pleasant sight or sound or a very stable looking performance. I gave it some more throttle and noticed that when I punch up, the wobbling is lessened. The original plan was to hover for a minute and then land, check temps, check VTOL battery voltage, recharge the batteries and then take off again and do the transition. Problem was, this wobble was bad and I just couldn't see it sitting like this for a whole minute, so I punched it up, gained some altitude and flipped to the fly-by-wire A mode, which initiated the forward flight transition. The transition itself was stellar. The fighter remained level, the tractor motor was as quiet as you can get, especially given the size. The plane lost only 2 meters during this whole ordeal and quickly got up to speed and finished the transition. Now, I do not have a video system on this plane yet, so all you get to watch is whatever video I have from the ground, the telemetry downlink in Mission Planner, and the log visualizer. A bit later on into the flight, I set the fighter in loiter mode in a way that would make it fly over me, set the altitude to 40 meters and waited for it to fly over so I can film it and verify the props have indeed aligned along the VTOL motor booms as programmed. Looks awesome from the ground. I had forgotten how well this plane flies. It is so stable even in wind. It's like on rails. It reminds me a bit of the My Fly Dream crosswind plane, the big one. That one was awesome as well, though this one is sitting at a hefty 12 kilograms, but also that is part of the reason why it flies so well. Larger and heavy planes fly better. It is just a fact. I flew for quite a while since I was already up there and wasn't in a hurry to get back down. I did adjust some of the VTOL PIDs during the flight, dropped the I's and the P's for roll and pitch a bit because I wanted to see how this was going to affect the VTOL behavior and how it will change compared to the takeoff. I fully understand that changing parameters will never solve the issue of the flexing frame, but realistically, it was all I could do then and there. When the time came, I approached against the wind, flipped the switch to Q hover and the plane began the back transition. It went pretty smoothly except for the wobbling. It felt reduced, or perhaps that was because the throttle was reduced as it was coming down, or the parameter change did make a difference. If we look at the current draw from the takeoff for instance, you can see from the current that the wobble was slower with a higher amplitude. Looking at the landing section, the wobble is smaller, but with a lower amplitude. I am not sure what this signifies in relation to the parameter change, but I will try to figure it out. I know it will never be perfect, but making it a bit docile, especially with how overpowered it is, might help smooth it out despite the flexible frame. Going down in propeller size might also help a good deal. There are possible solutions to the flex, though they would involve some heavy mods to the wings, and I'm really not looking forward to something like this. But if I decide the plane might be worth it, it might just get done. We will see. The descent was smooth and controlled, touchdown was soft and the airplane was safely on the ground. I checked the VTOL motor and ESC temps, motors were barely warm, ESCs were cold, tractor motor was cold. The only thing that was a bit warmer was the tractor motor ESC, but I would assume that is understandable since it has absolutely no cooling in there, and as tests with the power module showed just after the flight, the tractor motor with this prop pulls at least 90 amps at full throttle, which is a pretty serious amount of current. I had to verify it with the power meter because the power sensor is not showing the adequate values for some reason. It is a Mauch 200 amp one. In theory, it has the correct settings in there, but it doesn't work right and it shows very wrong values, so I'm open to ideas. Leave them in the comments below. The plane flew for over an hour and with no cooling whatsoever to the Tractor ESC, it is sort of okay for it to be a bit warm. As for the VTOL IPC system, I am thrilled. I'm also very impressed how well it works. I am impressed how powerful the motors are. System balance seems to be very nice. The props look very good and apparently perform well too. The programming is pretty easy once you get the hang of it, and it will absolutely improve the plane's forward flight efficiency when you are able to orient the VTOL props correctly and hold them there. Another way this could be used is on a twin tractor plane or a pusher plane. If it is a belly lander, you can program the props to actually really and reliably stop and hold in a level position, which would mean no more chipped prop ends or broken props on landings, which I feel like would be very useful for a lot of people. For my XUAV clouds for certain, and you can then start using some huge props on smaller planes for even better efficiency. The only problem here is that at present these motors do not come in a size smaller than the V5212 that I have on the Fighter, but hopefully with enough requests and perhaps some direct push, HobbyWing might expand their lineup and introduce smaller IPC motors and ESCs. If you are interested in the IPC system, you will be able to find links in the video description below. If you haven't already, do subscribe, there will be more on the Fighter to come. Like the video if you like the video and share it, it does help the channel grow. A huge thank you to HobbyWing, to all my YouTube members, Patreon supporters and anyone who has and still is supporting this channel in any way. Happy flying, and I will see you in the next one.